So the first day with Brian there, Steve and Brian spent quite a bit of time in the morning trying to figure out changes and extended from the bathroom over to make an actual rectangle. Anyways, discussing those and making sure they had all the materials they needed and figure out what they were still going to need, because they were going to need more than what originally was planned. So anyways, it took them a while to get started, but they finally did get started. So you can see here where Brian had laid out the wood just to get the basic framework of where things were going to be, and that bathroom was going to be the end of the area, but they decided to bring it all out past this yellow lumber that's here and make that an extra room over there. Here you can see where the walls have been put together, just not put up yet. Okay, and here he's starting to actually get some of the walls up, the bathroom. And you can see where we have things laid out all over the building. So you can see here where he's starting to get the walls up, and we have braces on things to keep them held up. And we still don't have that front new room. It's not in yet. Okay, here you can see how that room has been expanded out, and we have that extra room from the bathroom over. Just makes a rectangle now. And here you have a better view of it. Still with braces up, but more things are attached together. Okay, here's a view. Steve's standing over there by the bathroom, and now you can see that other little extra room. And I'm taking this picture from the workshop area. Now he's taking wood over. Sterling's helping him carry some of the boards for some more, I think, of the framing. I'm not sure exactly what that's for. Steve would know, but he's not here, so I can't ask him. Anyway, so Sterling came from Idaho. He works from home, and he decided he could come, and so sometimes he can take breaks from his work, and he loves to run out there and see what he can do to help, and then has to run back in. And he's been getting up early and working, getting off work earlier. So he starts about 7 and gets off at 3 or 4, and then comes out and helps. So we have on the other side of the building is going to be a long mezzanine or storage area for storing Steve's implements and other large tools will go underneath, and then we'll do storage on top of this mezzanine. And we just got Steve cut all the posts for it. Brian had got the metal posts in the ground, and Steve has just set them on those metal posts. So here you can just is another view of those posts in the ground, and those those pieces of wood on the floor are going to go up on top. You'll see that later. So here's another view of it, and you can see we have some metal that was not used that will go on the outside of the workshop, and they had tons of leftover insulation, so that will go in the workshop to give it more insulation on the outside walls, because the walls on the inside walls, I should say, the outside walls are insulated because it's part of the metal building. Okay, here's more poles up. And just another view of what we're seeing. As you can see, this building that is huge, it's already got a lot of space being used. Hopefully it'll all clear out, because we should use up the lumber and be able to clear out some of the objects that will actually be hanging in the metal building. Okay, Brian and Steve are putting the flooring for the room that's going to go above the workshop. These pieces of board were very heavy, and they've got them set up to be the supports for the flooring for the room above. Okay, here they're getting ready to put up the floor joists, and you can see the two ladders and the board across. That helps them so that they can walk across there and work across that wall there. Okay, this is the first floor joist going up. So Brian worked on one side, Steve was on the other side. Another picture of Steve holding his side of the floor joist. So this is the first one almost done, and you can see that there's many, many more to go up. Okay, here they're putting some straps together. There was an issue with the wall not being exactly square, and they were pulling it out in this one area, and they figured it out and got it working. This is another view of them working with these straps. They had attached it to a rebar over here on the right-hand side by one of those poles to tighten it up and pull it out. Okay, you can see here the floor joists that we have, they still have left to get up and moved over. There was a lot to put up. Now you can see quite a few of the floor joists up, but they still have many more to go. So here's what it looks like inside the building, inside the workshop anyway, with what we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5 joists up. Here we see that they have about half of the room done. Almost done with the floor joists. So this is what it looks like from a distance. And time to start moving on to the next part of the project. So now you can see where the flooring boards are going up, and he's just trying to get them up there where he can start putting them together. Another view of the floorboards going up. Okay, so to get the floorboards up, they were clear on the other side of the building, and had we kind of known more of what was going on, we would have had them put them in different areas so it was closer. But Steve and Brian would walk them over. Actually, I helped Steve move some of them. We'd stick them on the wheelbarrow, 2 of them at a time, and walk them over. Then Brian showed Steve how to stick them on a sawhorse, and they would put it up there long ways and tip them over until it leaned on there, and then they would take the bottom of it and push it and shove it up over there. A lot of work. So once the boards were all up there, it really didn't take Brian very long to stick them together and get them nailed down. So here's Brian up there working and putting that flooring together. And you can see that the flooring's starting to come together, starting to take shape. So Brian was pretty insistent that he'd be the only one up there, and he's done this for quite a while. Anyways, it was fun to watch him up there. He said it was much hotter up there than it was downstairs. He's getting closer to the edge. And here we can see that he almost has it finished, just a few side pieces. So while Brian was at work on the roof, Steve and Sterling were working on these posts and putting up these little triangular pieces that you'll see in future pictures, how they were supports for the beams. So it was kind of hard in these corner pieces to get those supports up. But they used that to know where to put it. Steve used that board, and he just would set it on top of the post, and it would tell him to just center it on the post, and it had to go as high as that board. So Sterling's checking it out. I think they had just finished getting all these supports pieces up, and it turned out that one of those posts was cut wrong, and we figured it out at the last minute. Brian had to actually cut off about an inch of one of them and put a new support on there. Anyways, that was really one of the biggest issues that we had, one of the problems that we had. Another day begins, and this is what it looked like in the morning with the sun shining on the building. It's actually taking shape. So here's the bathroom, just a view of it, where the shower is going to be, and the parts of the shower over here to the left, and that's where the toilet will go, and then the sink will be just a little bit farther back. So this is just another picture of that extra room. This was just going to be space in the building, and Steve decided just to take that wall straight out from the bathroom and actually make a room. He calls it the clean room, meaning that from his workshop there won't be all the sawdust or the dirt from the workshop area. So here you can see they're starting to put the beams up. They slide back behind there, and it really took Sterling, all three of them, because those beams were so heavy. It was really hard for Steve, especially to get that up, and Sterling has the strength and the height. So this kind of shows you here, Sterling, he can get the one up, and Brian and Steve had to do the other end.
The result, 28 minutes more restful sleep a night. That's more focus, more edge, and more highlights. Smart beds are on sale. Save 50% on the Sleep Number 360 limited edition smart bed, only for limited time. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the NFL. DQ presents how to experience the new DQ Reese's.
So here Brian's making sure that the floor joists are okay, that they'll fit across there. And if you notice down there on the right side, he has supports going across until he gets it up. Those eventually come out, the boards that went across. He strengthened it, but I'll show you later on. But those were used temporarily. So this is the corner that had the problem, that beam that Brian's working right there. We didn't discover it until later that day. Sterling came out and noticed that that beam, that area, it was actually an inch higher than everywhere else. And Brian hadn't been able to figure it out. He just knew something was wrong. Things weren't working out just right. But Sterling figured out that it was higher, and so Brian just had to cut it off, make the post an inch shorter, and then put a new support on it. This actually took quite a while to do. They're about halfway done, but it took longer. For one, Brian didn't realize it was going to go clear to the end of the wall. So it took him a lot longer to do this mezzanine than he thought. So they're getting ready to put up another one of these posts, or beams, I should say. So they've got it almost done for this part of it. And the next part of getting the beams up, the support beams up at the top. So here's these support beams. I guess they're floor joists, not quite as thick and heavy as those other ones, but they're a lot closer, and they're getting ready to put those up, trying to stack them up so that they're easier to put up. So here you can see he's got some of these floor joists up, and then he puts the flooring up to that area and then continues on. So the day is about over. They were working on this, but it was getting pretty late. And it was a good thing, because that beam just on the back wall left of that red ladder is the one that caused us the problems and was giving Brian a headache, because he couldn't quite figure out what it was, that 1 inch being off. All the rest of them were correct. So while Brian was over there working on the mezzanine, Steve was starting to put the electrical boxes in on the workshop. So here you can see Steve getting one of those electrical boxes in. So here's Sterling over there trying to help him, but again, like I said, it was the end of the day and Brian was getting pretty tired. So here's the electrical panel, getting the wire from the outside to the inside and getting that electrical panel up. So getting the electric and the wiring, you can see the yellow wiring, Brian started getting that in. So here's Brian and Sterling working on the electrical line from the outside, trying to get it to the inside. So there was something with the wiring that Brian had to get down on the floor. It was a little tricky, but he finally got it where it needed to be. So we don't have garage doors, and we don't know when the garage doors are coming, so we have these great big huge openings. Well, they've got a lot of equipment, a lot of money, and so we had heard that there was somebody in a nearby city that had, I guess, committed a murder, and he's out on the run. Our farmer had called us, so Steve said we need to pack up the equipment. So we had to pack everything up, put it in the back of his truck for the night. So it had rained like 2 nights before, and this is what we think is a mountain lion, a cougar paw, and it appears that he went in one door and went through the building and walked out the other door. A little scary. Hopefully he's not around too much, but that's what it appears to be. So I took this picture. This is where the cougar paw is. You probably can't see it from here, but I just wanted you to see. Well, you can. Down here at the end of the wood, just to the right, between the orange line and the wood, you can see that cougar paw. And one of the other doors is where he went in. And then Sterling the next day found more paws, and he said he didn't see him before. So I don't know if it was from the same night or if it came a second night. Okay, here we have the mezzanine flooring completed. There's still another piece that needs to go in the front, but all of the floor joists are up and the floorboards are up. So now we're working on this other part, getting electrical in, getting that finished. And now these floor joists are going in, not as strong as that other one, but they have braces. Steve put those braces up while Brian was working on the mezzanine. And then Sterling and Brian put the joists in using those braces. So here Steve and Brian are having to get these floorboards, this pressed wood, up from the other end of the building and walking it down. If we had known, we would have had them put that clear down at the other end. We just didn't know where things should go. So Sterling was able to finish about 3 o'clock and come out and help with the flooring on the top of the clean room, that extra room, and the bathroom. So while Brian and Sterling were putting those braces up and the flooring up, Steve spent most of the day putting these little squares in there so that the air won't draft out. He was having to measure every one because none of them were the same distance. He had to measure the top and the bottom of each one, make sure the board was square, then cut it to those dimensions and had to kind of hammer one side in, hammer the other, and then go to the back of it and get it in just right, and then nail it in. It took him all day. Brian showed him some tricks after he'd done 2 or 3 of them that helped to go a little faster, and then Ike was able to come out and write down the measurements and kind of help him bring the things over and back, going back and forth to make it go a little faster. But it took him most of the day to get those 16 little pieces in. So here's another picture, and he only had, 3 or 4, it looks like, probably 4 more, I can't really see. Yep, he had 4 more to go. So once he had the boards in, he had to staple them from the top, the bottom, and the sides. So here we see Sterling and Brian almost finished with the roof of that other area. Okay, the last thing they did on Friday was getting this board that will be the faceplate of that, and there will be railings on top of that for this mezzanine. And that was it for our week. It was a very busy week. A lot got done, and we were worn out.